have the opportunity to play like gods for the next half of football. But we can't be afraid to lose. There's no room for fear in this game.
This is the New Hampshire High School Football Show.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
I don't want them to gain another yard.
You blitz all night. If they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm going to take every last one of you out.
The New Hampshire High School Football Show is brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement.
You got heart, charisma, and a lot of skill.
And now, here are your hosts, Pete Terrier and Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com.
Clear eyes, full hearts.
Let's go play some football.
The final week of the regular season is halfway done. Tremendous night of football last night on a Friday night. A big day coming up today. And, of course, a parade of champions. A rolling rally through the streets of Boston. I'm representing with the championship hat, World Series champion Boston Red Sox. Good morning, everybody. Pete Terrier, along with Dave Haley, NHSportsPage.com. Dave, are you feeling like me, just a little bit giddy over the last couple of days with your baseball team having won a world championship, an unexpected world championship?
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was, and just a very likable team. It's amazing to go from what we had last season to the Bobby V mess to this in 1 year. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I love Uehara. He's one of my favorite Red Sox of all time.
He's great.
He looks like someone just saved him off a deserted island every time he saves a game. Like, he's so happy. He looks like Tom Hanks in Castaway.
Congratulations, Boston Red Sox. Enjoy the rolling rally today. Can't wait to watch that thing on TV. Everybody's asking me, you going to the rally? And look, it would be a lot of fun to go, especially with young kids.
Knucklehead Central down there today.
But yeah, I mean, for the 2 minutes you actually get to see the team roll by you.
Yeah.
It's not worth the hassle. I'd just rather watch it all on TV.
I went to the Celtics one. You ever been to one? I went to the Celtics one.
I went to a send-off rally for the Patriots. I think back before the Squeeze the Cheese Super Bowl, 97.
Yeah.
It was a send-off rally, but I've never actually been to a championship rally.
Yeah.
This one's going to be cool because they'll put the duck boats right in the water, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. And this will be a situation where a grown man will come to tears, because I welled up a little bit the other night. When you watch some of this stuff.
Got a little dusty in the Terrier home?
I did. It was a great moment. I let my 5.5-year-old son stay up and watch the whole thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and he was very excited about it. And all he can do now, and tell me if you know what he's mimicking.
Big Papi.
Well, no, that's actually Shane Victorino.
Oh, Victorino.
After the Grand Slam. But this is the New Hampshire High School Football Show, and we do have playoff football, and we do have surprise playoff football teams. We'll start with the game that I was at last night. We had the NHSportsPage.com video cameras out there, and I think a lot of people around the state are going to be shocked this morning when they wake up and find out Bedford not going to the playoffs. Manchester Central is. Why don't we get to that and all the scores from last night? Dave Haley with the scoreboard, brought to you by our friends at the New Hampshire Liquor Commission, the Division of Enforcement, and the Buyers Beware campaign, reminding all adults it's against the law to provide alcohol to minors, even if the Red Sox win an improbable World Series, even if the Central Little Green upset Bedford and move on to the playoffs, leaving Bedford at home. Just don't do it. Here's your scoreboard with Dave.
As Pete said, Manchester Central with a 20-16 win over Bedford last night. Josiah Wade went about 200 yards. We got some difference of opinion, but we'll call it
under 200 yards.
Over under 200 yards for Josiah Wade. I had written in my column this week that if he went under 100, there's no way Central wins. Well, he went near 200, and he's got to be considered right there for Player of the Year in Division I. We can talk about that as we move along. But going through the scores, and we're going to go through all the standings, playoff matchups, everything today that we have so far. Exeter 36-0 over Nashua North. I can't figure Exeter out for the life of me. I can't figure them out at all. There's some weeks where I think they're mediocre, and then they pull a 36-0 over a North team that just won a big game a couple weeks ago. So over BG. Kennett 28-20 over Kingswood. Kingswood was up 17-0 in this game, but Mike Holdeman's team got a nice win. Kennett's going to the playoffs, playing Plymouth next week. Thank God it's over for Manchester West, because those nice kids don't need to deal with this anymore. 52-18 They put up 18 points. Good for them. Manchester Memorial, their deal all season long, great offense, bad defense. But they win 52-18 in a city rivalry there. Nashua South bounces back in a big way. They lost to Keene last week, but they win over Winnicott 51-28. And Winnicott, after winning the Division II title last year, is not going to the playoffs. Stevens, 34-6, a take care of business kind of win over Raymond. Wyndham, we got to talk about the Wyndham Jaguars. They are going to be the number 1 seed coming out of that subdivision. Wyndham with a 46-7 win over Sanborn.
Rolling. Right now.
And Sanborn's a playoff team. Concord ends the season undefeated, 35-7 over Goffstown. They're your favorite to win it all in Division I.
And boy, are they happy that Manchester Central knocked off Bedford. You think that they'd rather play Central or Bedford
true.
right now?
Yeah, I mean, they rolled over Central in week 1. It was a long time ago, but yeah.
Different Central team now.
Yeah,
I
it
will
was
say
35-6, I think it was.
Yeah, 35-6, yeah.
Yeah, Lebanon with a 14-0 win over Kearsarge. Lebanon kind of had a disappointing season this year. I thought they were going to go to the playoffs. They did not. Milford, 34-27 over Laconia, beats the Sachems. Pinkerton 63-21 over Merrimack. Pinkerton, we're going to have Coach O'Reilly on today.
Yeah, he will join us at 8:35 this morning.
Legendary.
Although they've already set the clocks back in the studio. We have these digital counters, and you just said we have Coach O'Reilly, so I look at the clock and it says 7:12, and I'm like, he's not coming on till 8:35. No, they have already set the clocks back here. You got to do that tonight. 2 a.m. this morning, set those clocks back, fall back. They've already done it here at the studios in Manchester.
Here's my curious score of the night. Portsmouth 24, Hanover 21. At home. This was a lot closer. I got to get into this one. But of note, Jake Becker, who is the leading receiver in Division II football, is done for the year. He's been dismissed from the team for a violation of team rules. So that's a big loss for Portsmouth.
It hurts.
He's
the one that caught that game-winning touchdown against Plymouth.
Yep. And he's done for the year. Violation of team rules, we'll call it. BG with a 48-19 win over Timberlane, but it's not enough. Is there an NIT that BG, Winnicott, and
I know.
Bedford,
Good idea, Dave.
Bedford can go to?
Well, you did create the preseason basketball jamboree.
Yeah.
You and the brain
Kevin
trust
Bonnie,
at nhsportspage.com.
That's right.
Why don't you create the postseason NIT for football?
We may have to do that. We'll get them on a field. Maybe St. Thomas or Merrimack Valley, whoever doesn't make it from that, and we'll get them all on a field. Play some football one afternoon. Spalding, the Fighting McIsaacs, 29-26 over Dover. Dover, they were up 29-20. Dover scored the last couple seconds to make it closer, but this was a very good game. This is a rivalry game. Those are the scariest kinds. This was, as I wrote, this was Dover's bowl game. I mean, this is the whole season. Trust me, they wanted to ruin Spalding's season, but they don't do it, and Spalding's going to be the number 1 seed in that playoff. We'll get into that. Keene. I'm going to talk about a team you don't want to play right now is Keene. 44-7 over Alvin, and Alvin's been a pretty solid team this year. Keene is rolling right now. I think Alex Parento has gotten more comfortable at quarterback. He's playing terrific for them, and we'll talk more about them. Salem, this surprised me a little bit. Salem 29-7. They get the win over Londonderry in that one. I think I had picked that one wrong. Jason Martinez has had a great season for Salem. And thank you, Jason, for emailing me your stats, buddy. I'll take care of it today. But he's had a terrific year. He's one of the top 5 rushers in Division I football. They get a nice win there. Monadnock ends undefeated. Only undefeated team in Division II, 27-19 over Pembroke. Hollis Brookline beats Souhegan 34-6 to close out what's kind of been a disappointing season there. And Trinity beats St. Thomas 43-28, and that ensures that Merrimack Valley is going to the playoffs.
Yeah, so Trinity rights the ship right before the playoffs start. We're going to talk about that team and about some of the issues that have been falling them. I mean, I had them ranked number 4, I think, in my power poll earlier this season.
You never felt quite sure about it, though, did you?
I never did. I got caught up in that opening week explosion at
good,
Portsmouth.
Yeah.
And Portsmouth proved that they were a real good football team and
Yep.
top 10 worthy. And Trinity manhandled them and did it with a different kind of style that we haven't seen the rest of the year. Now, I don't know any details about that game last night, the victory over St. Thomas. They did put up 42. But that's a team that needs to correct things a little bit. Maybe they got on their way to do that last night. All right, we'll take a timeout, come back. I want to talk at length about the way and how Central beat Bedford, knocking the Bulldogs out of the playoffs. I'm still shocked. I mean, me And the video of the game, the video highlights of the game is up on nhsportspage.com. You just click on our Game of the Week highlights right there in that lead dynamic on the homepage of the website, and you can watch it. And Josiah Wade and that Central line dominated that game. And the Central defense, we've been criticizing them for the last several years.
That's the surprise to me.
They shut them down pretty much. I mean, especially when you consider this. Mike Bayless, first play from scrimmage for Bedford, 43-yard touchdown run. After they stopped Central, pretty much cold on their first possession. One play, Mike Bayless runs it in from 43 yards out. Looked like, oh boy, this is going to be a long one. And after that, they didn't score another touchdown until the final minute of the game. And that was kind of like let's just get the clock killed here and play the prevent defense type of thing. But what an impressive performance by the Little Green. Congratulations, Coach Ray, and that entire Central organization. You guys had your best win in the last several years. You did it last night on the road, and you're in the playoffs going to take on Concord. And Bedford, shockingly, is going home. We'll talk about that when we return. Brian O'Reilly from Pinkerton, he will join us at 8:35 this morning, talk about his team's upcoming playoff matchup. The MacPac rivalry is back. Londonderry and Pinkerton in the playoffs. Does anybody have an easier road to the Final Four than Pinkerton?
No.
We'll talk about that. The New Hampshire High School Football Show coming up. More of it on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
To Winnicott, Central to Somersworth, and Portsmouth to Plymouth. The New Hampshire High School Football Show brings you the best coverage in the state on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Well, the Central Little Green football team brought us playoff caliber football last night. They needed a win to get in, and if they would win, they would knock out Bedford. And it's shocking to me, even, I don't know how many hours after the final horn went off last night at Bedford High School. It's shocking to me that Bedford is not going to be playing. Their season is over. They don't even have a Thanksgiving Day game to look forward to.
Londonderry 4
it's
and 5.
over.
Londonderry 4-5 is going to the playoffs. 7-2 Bedford is not.
Well, and that's an indictment to the system right there. Kurt Hines, I talked to him after the game, and you can see the interview in that highlight package on nhsportspage.com. And he was just shocked. It was like dazed. It was like he got, punched in the face and was still trying to figure it out. Did someone just punch me in the face?
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And it was one of those games where you let an underdog hang around.
Yeah.
The longer it goes, the longer they're in the game, the better chance they have.
Yeah.
And that's what Central did. And Central controlled the line of scrimmages on both sides and stopped that Bedford passing game pretty much. I don't have the final stats. And they gave a healthy dose of Josiah Wade. Now, I was sitting next to Roger Brown in the press box from the Union Leader, and he writes a story in the Union Leader. The headline says, Central gets the job done. And the smaller headline, Wade scores twice and win as Bedford is left out of the postseason. And Roger had Josiah Wade for 39 carries, 199 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But to me, the key was the quarterback play and the passing game of Manchester Central. Richie Greeley, according to Roger, and I credit him because I was using his stats, and he's cool with it. Richie Greeley threw the ball 37 times in the game. So Wade carried it 39. They balanced the offense. 22 for 37, 142 yards through the air. Threw a couple of picks, Greeley did. But to me, they did just enough with that passing game, so Bedford couldn't put 11 guys in the box against Wade. And when the balance was there, Central was able to move the ball down the field and methodically take time off the clock and move the chains. And what an impressive performance by them.
You mentioned earlier this year at some point that Ryan Ray sometimes gets some grief, about the performance of that team, fair or unfair.
I think people were calling for his head, especially when they were 0-2.
Not now. Yeah, that's humongous. I mean, 7 wins in a row, and that's tremendous. They're a playoff team, and it's a different team than Concord beat in the first week. I still put Concord as a heavy favorite there, one thing this does is stops the chatter of. I remember a couple years ago there was a kid. ironically, from Guilford. Brendan Murphy, who ran for a couple of miles, he was leading the state in rushing, and we did the statewide leaders as we do. And I'll be doing those this week, the final statewide leaders. But this sort of puts the rest of those kids down, because Josiah Wade came up to D1 and put up the same kind of numbers he put in Division 6 last year. It just goes to show you, those kids can play. They don't have the depth and they don't have the linemen, but these running backs, are pretty good. And he came up, and his game translated against the biggest teams in the state.
Well, I looked it up last night, and on the site, Wade was at 1894 going into the game. So he had 200. He needed 106 to go over the 2,000-yard plateau, which is amazing, especially considering that they've only played 9 games.
Yeah.
And in the first 2 games, he wasn't really,
First game, I think he had like 30 yards against Concord.
I had a conversation, a text conversation, if you will, with Ryan Ray prior to the start of the season. And I asked him, Wade, what kind of player was he going to be? And at the time, we still thought they had Weekly and Velez coming back, too. So he was going to be just a third guy in that backfield, a good third guy. And he said he'd be good, but he didn't think he was going to be great.
Yeah.
And he didn't know. So those first couple games, especially the game against Concord, he barely touched the ball. I mean, he had some carries. But now, he had 40 carries last night in the game. And just about all of them went for positive yards. He's a good runner. He's strong. He's low to the ground.
Yeah.
He's hard to bring down.
Yeah.
He reminds me of a bigger Max Jakes. Maybe not as fast as Max Jakes, more powerful.
Yeah.
If you could, fuse Max Jakes and Jerickson Fedrick, those 2 great Salem running backs that played for a couple years together. Fedrick was bigger and more powerful, but he was really, really fast. Track star fast. Jakes was track star fast and also elusive. Wade is kind of like a combination of those two. Not quite as fast, but he's bigger. Just very impressive guy. And give credit to the Central, the rest of that offense. The receivers, they got a number of playmakers. Central does. Let's point a few out. Nick Macris, who's a big tight end. They play him split
Center
out
on the
wide.
basketball team.
Yep. Tyler Kelly, another basketball player.
Power forward.
This kid George Gomes, a fullback blocker. I think he had 1 carry. Abe Madra. You're familiar with him as a wide receiver.
Yeah, very good.
Nate Guillermo, another basketball player. Marcus Joseph, a tight end. They just got a bunch of different guys. Julio Rincon.
Yep.
Gino Otero. I mentioned the quarterback, Richie Greeley. They've just got a bunch of different guys that they can put out there and make things happen. And that line, some of the big guys that I noticed, Thomas Regan, number 72, a big sophomore. They're young, too. 75, Ryan Kelly, a junior, big guy on the line. Zach Lansing, another huge sophomore, number 79. I'm missing a couple of guys. But to me, Central out-physicaled Bedford last night and beat them at their own game. Bedford, you wrote about it in your Thursday Thoughts, Dave. That best rushing defense in the state had given up 67 points coming in, and Central just manhandled them.
Yeah. So here are your matchups unofficially for the Division I playoffs. Keene will go at Nashua South next week. How good of a game is that going to be?
Yeah.
Londonderry at Pinkerton. Londonderry 4-5, but they're in. Central will go at Concord at Memorial Field.
There you go.
and here's the interesting one. Spalding, according to the standings, has to go to Exeter. Even though they beat them head-to-head and they had the same record, they have less points. So 98 points and 94 points. So according to this, and again, this is all unofficial, our bracketology, it's Spalding going at Exeter. This isn't quite fair.
John Doyle, who wrote the story on Fosters.com, Foster's Daily Democrat, is convinced, he wrote it in his story, that they're going to have their first home playoff game for Spalding since 93, 20 years ago. These kids weren't even born the last time there was a home playoff game. Well, that's what
I don't blame him for thinking
was.
That. Yeah, I don't blame him
That's
for
what the
thinking
belief was. I think you're wrong, because I think in Division I, the ratings don't count.
Oh, it is head-to-head in Division I.
The only way the time the ratings come into it is once that Final Four is set.
Yeah, good.
So after next weekend, then they take the ratings.
Yeah.
So, like, say Exeter beats Spalding and they have a higher rating than, say, Pinkerton, for example. I don't know if that could be the case. They would have the home game in that matchup. So Spalding is going to play that home playoff game.
All right, good.
So that's what we know in Division One. Let's talk about those matchups quickly. Let's talk about this Keene Nashua South. We just saw it last week. South had to go to Keene. Got a little bit of a wake-up call. Keene blitzed them in the second half. Ended up winning that going away. Tough one with Winnicott last night. South survives. Big night by night. 5 touchdowns for him. He seems to be a man on a mission in his senior year.
I think he's your player of the year. If I had to vote, he'd be my guy.
It's going to be either him or Josiah Wade at this point.
Yeah, Manny Lattimore.
Lattimore, How
about Alex Parento? How about Alex Parento?
There you go. There's a lot of candidates.
Yeah.
There's a lot of candidates, so I think it's going to be really tough. And this is going to be one of those split vote years. There's a lot of different organizations that will do their Player of the Year awards. I bet you there'll be a lot of different Players of the Year. Look, you got Keene Nashua South. You got there we go. We keep trying to put Bedford in the playoffs. They're not going.
I know.
They didn't make it. You got Concord Central, Londonderry against Pinkerton, and then you got Exeter Spalding. Who's advancing in your mind?
I think I like the home teams in all of those. I think Spalding beats Exeter again.
Really?
Yeah.
I say Exeter wins that game.
I think Keene could definitely go to South and win that game, though. I think Concord's going to beat Central. I definitely think Pinkerton's going to beat Londonderry. I think I like the Fighting McIsaacs over Exeter, and then I think Keene's playing well right now, and I think that's a team with a bit of chip on their shoulder. I don't know. I get that sense, and I think they're playing very well right now.
I like Nashua South to win that game, and it's
what you do. You're homer.
I was going to say it's not just a homer pick, but I like Nashua South to win that game. I like Concord. I like Pinkerton, and I like Exeter. That's the way I see it.
Let me
Division 1.
real quick run it down in Division 2. It's going to be Merrimack Valley at Portsmouth next week. Kennett goes to Plymouth. Trinity has a rematch against Wyndham. They got to go back to Wyndham and try to win that thing. And then Sanborn at 5-4 gets in. Congratulations to Sanborn. They're going to go to Monadnock next week. And
that's a trek, huh? Sanborn, which is in Kingston.
Yeah.
They're in that West Conference, right?
Yeah.
And they have to go to Monadnock to Swansea.
I definitely like all the home teams next week in that one. I mean, Trinity obviously would be the team that I think could go on the road and beat Wyndham, but we have to see. I'm not liking what I'm hearing about Trinity right now. So.
And too muddled in Division 3 at this point.
Yeah. I think.
Well, we know for sure that Campbell is out no matter what happens today, even though they play Bow.
That's what I heard.
And I know you were pontificating about that on the website. That if Campbell beats Bow, they'll have the same record as Bow and a win in the head-to-head matchup. But not enough rating points to make the
I talked to
playoffs.
Roger for a while. Roger Brown and I talked for about a half hour the other day, and we went over it, and that's how I'm clear on it. And he said, yeah, even if Campbell wins today, finishes with the same record as Bow, they will not go to the playoffs because they won't have enough points, and that's what it goes on. Today, Mascoma game, we're going to have coverage. Jen Chick, who has come on board with us and done a great job doing our second videographer, is going to be doing the Mascoma Newport game today. So we're really excited to go out and do that game today. We're going to have video coverage of that too. But run it down real quick. Muddle, it looks like Bishop Brady, Epping, Newmarket will play each other. The Guilford. Who can take out the Golden Eagles is the question.
The
Guilford
playoff
6-2.
bound.
Who's beating us?
Get it right. The playoff bound. Guilford.
Golden Eagles should host Interlakes next weekend. Interlakes Molten Borough. Pelham. Looks like it'd be Pelham Bow. By the way, Pelham Bow, first weekend of the season, 7-0 game to open the season. Pelham won.
Rematch.
And they'd have a rematch. And then Stevens is in, and the winner of Mascoma Newport. I love it. The winner, simple. Head-to-head matters. The winner today, Mascoma Newport. Two good teams. Mascoma, of course, went to the championship last year in Division 6, and again, we'll have coverage of that one today.
All right, quick timeout, come back. Brian O'Reilly from Pinkerton will join us as a guest. Certainly looking forward to seeing his team play some playoff football. I think they got the easiest path to the Final Four matchup. I know he'll disagree with you, but whatever. We'll bring on the coach when we return. It is the New Hampshire High School Football Show, News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Local coverage of New Hampshire high school football on the New Hampshire High School Football Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Rolling up towards the top of the hour, 9 o'clock. It is the New Hampshire High School Football Show. Pete Terrier, along with Dave Haley, nhsportspage.com. We do it each and every Saturday morning during the football season between 8 and 9 a.m. Two fine stations, WGIR AM 610 in and around Manchester. Also a Seacoast signal for you. Crystal clear FM station 96.7 FM, aka WQSO. Our next guest on the line, his team headed to the postseason. That's not a big surprise. Brian O'Reilly from Pinkerton joins us. Coach O'Reilly, good morning.
Good morning.
So, Coach, you've got the regular season behind you now. You're looking ahead towards the playoffs. You got a familiar opponent coming up. When you look back on this regular season, this 9-week regular season in this new look Division I, is there something that you can say you definitely learned that you didn't know going into the season?
Hello.
Do you not have us, Coach? Coach, do you have us? I don't think he has us, so we're gonna drop him and try and get him back. So that great question.
Do you want me to answer for him?
Yeah, please do.
I think we're going to kill Londonderry this week, and just kidding.
I mean, it's when you think about that question. I mean, I guess for you, Dave, the one thing that you learned is we got to find a way that a team like Bedford is not out of the playoffs when a team like Londonderry is in.
Yeah, I mean, I think we knew that was going to happen.
Let's see if we got the coach back. Coach, can you hear us this time? I don't know if he can hear us.
Did it to me again.
Yeah, so apparently he can't hear us. So we're going to try and correct that. Oh, do you got it, Shannon?
Hello?
All right, Coach, you got us now?
I can hear you now.
All right, man.
Boy, you missed a great question,
You missed
too,
like
Coach.
3 great questions.
I had a great answer, I'm sure.
Well, let me tell you what Dave said. I asked you is there anything that you learned that you didn't know going into this new setup here in Division I? And Dave said, oh, yeah, I learned that, we're going to kill Londonderry, whatever.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'm sure you're going to say that. But seriously, the regular season is now behind you. You're looking ahead to the postseason. But is there anything that you learned from this new setup that we didn't know going in after we saw the season play out?
Honestly, I don't know that has occurred to us in our situation. This has felt exactly the same for us as it always has, probably because we played a lot of the same teams. But I think anything that you guys might be bringing up about conferences and whatever applied to other conferences, not to this one. So, no, I can't really say that.
Let me ask you this one, Coach. How surprised were you? And we're certainly going to talk about the Pinkerton Astros, your game last night, your season. But I got to get your opinion on what you thought when you found out that Central knocked off Bedford last night. I'm sure you were surprised like I was.
I was not shocked. I was surprised, though, because they were the underdog and the game meant something. I know some people are going to make something about that, but I'm going to tell you that of all the issues, that one is the one that shouldn't even be a concern. It was just a playoff the week before the playoffs. I understand that a 7-2 team is not in now and that someone with a losing record is, but the fact of the matter is Bedford understood they had to beat Central, whether that was this week, next week, or 2 weeks from now. That was playoff atmosphere. I would only have a problem if I were forced out with a 7-2 record because I lost to someone in the second week of the season. My kids at that time didn't understand the importance of that game or whatever, and in the end it came back to bite us. But when you lose on the very last week of the regular season and you understand that that game will either put you in or not, then I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. We once did not qualify for the playoffs with a 6-3 record, even though we beat Central because they beat someone that we didn't beat. It got into one of those three-way ties. Jim Schubert's team went. We stayed home. They won the state championship. We beat them, and yet we didn't even get to compete. It happens under all systems. But that thing last night, that was earned. That was the fans might have been shocked, but that should have been a playoff atmosphere game. So any arguments that come up about any other things might have some merit, but I personally don't see that as an issue last night.
Yeah. Coach, I wanted to talk to you about Manny Lattimore, who's coming into last night over 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. At the beginning of the year, I can't remember what the exact quote was, but you said something, you alluded to the fact that Manny you've coached some terrific players who've gone on to the next level, and I believe you made a comment saying Manny Lattimore has the chance to be remembered at Pinkerton, be in the class of those players. So now that the regular season's over and his season isn't over, would you put him in that category now?
I think you already know the answer to that, and the answer is the season's not over. Those other players made names for themselves because of not only what they did in the regular season, but most importantly what they did in the postseason. You cannot make evaluations on a team. You can't call someone the best team ever, like let's say the Patriots, if they don't finish, and you can't deal with individual players until they finish. So I have no comment on that right now.
Coach Brian O'Reilly from Pinkerton is our guest. His team victorious in their regular season finale against Merrimack last night, 63-21. It was close for a while, but that Pinkerton offense and really exploding in the second half of that football game. Coach, it took your team a while. You mentioned how, hey, in week 2 you might have lost to a team and now you're playing a lot better. I think that's a perfect way to sum up your team. You lost that opener and struggle at Bedford 14-12, and then you had the other slip up against Concord a little bit later in the season. But I think it's safe to say that your team now heading into the playoffs in that game next week against Londonderry is much different than the team that started the season.
Absolutely. It is. We had a lot of young kids at the beginning of the season. They now have experience, and those that were there in the past, they certainly have playoff experience. We have no excuses now. We're ready to roll. It's November, and this is what we play for.
Coach, why don't you talk a little bit about your defense that has to really come on here at the end of the year? A lot of people know about your great linebacker, Matt Madden, but who are some of the other kids who have been key for you defensively?
Well, we have a whole crew of them. It isn't just like Matt and one other guy. I mean, I'll give you some names, but there are 3 or 4 or 5 other names beyond that. But our linebacking core is pretty good with Matt, with Sean Murray, with Hanson, with Poitras. We have some really good linebackers that we like. They're very athletic. They can run to the ball. They play counter well. And I think that's probably the strength of our defense. And then we've got some big guys up front. I mean, big guys up front. Phil Harper and Hayden Sturdivant, Mike Martinoli. Those kids keep the offensive linemen off of our linebackers, and it's just a continuous work in progress. But we're pretty good defensively as a team. But other than Matt, there's no great star out there.
How about the offense, Coach? Urbanik, TJ Urbanik, I saw had a big play in the game last night, and he's a kid who you can utilize as an option in the running game just to keep defenses honest so they're not fully keying on Manny Lattimore. You got to have some other guys. Your quarterback, Jack Hanaway, although the game that I saw him against Concord, I don't think he played particularly well in that game, but he's obviously got some ability as a thrower and as a running quarterback. You guys do have more than just Manny on offense.
We do. I mean, all you have to do is look at last night. Manny didn't play last night, and we still rushed for 450 yards or something around that area. We have a very good offensive line that, like the defense, there isn't a great player on it. It's just a cohesive group that gets some holes for us. And as long as we have athletic people in the backfield, Manny obviously being one, TJ, a sophomore, started for us all year long and is the next in line down the road. We're better now than ever because Matt Madden, we left him off the offense for the first half of the season because he was recovering from his ACL, and I really didn't want to test that too much. Matt's our natural fullback, and he's back at fullback. He just went for the second time in 2 weeks over 100 yards, had 50-yard run on the first carry of the game. So we've got some people back there who can run the ball. That's what we do. Everybody knows that. And Jack is a really, really smart quarterback. I really like Jack at quarterback. He makes good decisions. We don't throw the ball a lot by choice, but when we do, we can do stuff with it. And Jack is a really good runner, fakes well, and keeps people honest on the corner. Just for me, it's a really good wing T offense, and we've certainly scored enough points during the year, but we can get better.
You mentioned Manny didn't play, and I didn't see the game story. I was just kind of following it along on Twitter when I was at the Bedford Central game last night. Was that just giving them a night off, precautionary? Is there an injury? Is there something? Is there some kind of news flash?
We didn't play 5 or 6 starters last night because let's just leave it at
because
that.
We're not giving people
vacations, but the game had no playoff implications for us. And if you're stat driven, which we're not, which Manny's not, which other players are not, then I guess it's like I want to play because somebody else rushed for over 500 yards against them. How about me? And it's like there's none of that. We have to take care of what we have to take care of for the playoffs. And from this point on, if people can play, they're going to play.
Let's go back to the Concord game, Coach. I remember talking to you after that game, and you were a little bit bewildered how you guys could let a 8-point lead get away in the final minutes, specifically watching the other team drive down the field and hitting you with a big 50-yard pass play over the top that really kind of put them in position to score. But they still needed a 2-point conversion, and then they needed overtime. But it just seemed like that game-tying drive by Concord broke your spirit, broke your back, and that you guys kind of stopped playing at that time, and they really had the momentum and the emotion. Can you talk a little bit about the final moments of that game and the overtime?
Yeah, that was an extreme disappointment. That's something that I haven't seen from my teams over the years. They took that game from us. They earned it. They took it from us. We didn't give it to them. They should not have been able to go down the field in the last couple of minutes with our lead. That's something that we take care of, but we didn't. They still didn't score on that. We still got them to a 4th down in near double digits, 4th and 10, 4th and 7, something like that, and they still scored. And they still had to get the 2 points, and they still scored. And then they had to go to overtime, and they scored. And then they had to stop us, and they did. And they did everything they're supposed to do, and we did everything we're not supposed to do. And you know that we took that film, and that we have thrown that in the faces of our players over and over again. They played that night like a championship team, and we did not. We did not finish. And that's a learning phase for us, and it's something that we've been working on ever since.
Let me ask you this one before we let you go, and we've done this before, kind of for radio purposes only type of question, not asking you to look past Londonderry, but have you guys looked at the way this rating thing's going to shake out? Say the home field teams advance, the top-seeded teams in next weekend advance, then they're going to reseed based on the rating system for the Final Four. Do you know where you guys would be if you guys beat Londonderry?
Yeah, we do.
Where would you be?
Well, it depends on other people also, but I understand every scenario. It's pretty simple. If you look at the rating system, it gets complicated. Whoever wrote that didn't master in English, that's for sure. But record comes number 1. So in all scenarios, as long as they win, Concord is the number 1 seed because they're undefeated. So it's simple. That would make South number 2 if they won. That would put a 2-loss team like us at number 3. That would put a 3-loss team like Exeter or Spalding at number 4. No matter what, Exeter or Spalding goes to 4 because they have 3 losses. What you get complicated with is what happens if you have 2 teams with the same record. If you go head-to-head, you break that. That's rare, but it would happen. But what it really comes down to, from what I see, is no matter what, Concord's number 1 unless they get beat. No matter what, the winner of the South Keene game is number 2. Either one of them, if Concord were to win, because Keene has the same record we do, but they've got a higher point rating because they beat South in the regular season is what it really comes down to. You count up the teams that you beat, the number of wins those teams have. Keene beat 7 teams that have more wins overall than we did with 7 wins, so they would be ahead of us in all situations. If Central pulls the upset and beats Concord, then South and or Keene goes to number 1. We go to 2. Central goes to 3, no matter what. Exeter Spalding is 4. It really isn't that complicated. It's the same point system we've always had in the playoffs. They have not changed that.
So you haven't put much thought into it. Coach, I really appreciate it.
The only thought I have put into it is Londonderry. I don't care what other people think with their record. The last time I played Londonderry in the playoffs, I had to pull the game out in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I remember that. Great game.
So we will not be looking past Londonderry. Our entire focus this week including today, and our players understand it, is the Londonderry Lancers.
Coach, thanks so much for the time. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the postseason.
All right, Pete.
Thank you. Brian O'Reilly, head coach of the Pinkerton Astros. Man, he had that thing spelled out. I'm glad I asked that question.
Yeah,
because now you don't have to.
I
do
like
as much
his.
homework.
I like the way he explained Bedford. Don't cry for Bedford. I mean, they had a playoff game last night.
Yeah,
right.
he spelled it out.
He's right.
He spelled it out.
Yep.
And Kurt Hines in the Bedford, may be hard to swallow this morning, but he spelled it out perfectly. So we thank him for the time. All right, we come back. We got a little treat for you, Red Sox fans, as you get ready for the rolling rally of the championship parade today. It is the New Hampshire High School Football Show, News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game.
I want to tell you about our team.
Big Puppy.
I'm going to tell you a big fat story, baby.
The Grand Slam.
Oh, it's all about our team. Yeah, down here in Boston. Down by the wall in a Fenway Park.
Shane Victorino.
Oh, that's where it happens, baby.
Erase a lot of frustration.
And we love those Boston Red Sox. Oh, Fenway, you're my home.
That's hit well. Into the corner. It is gone. A grand slam. Koji ready. Here's the 0-2. Swung on and missed. Hey, let's go to the World Series. The Red Sox have won the American League Championship.
And go to the series we
Sox
did.
fans have not seen a World Series clinching victory here at Fenway. It hasn't happened at Fenway Park for 95 years. The Red Sox are world champions.
This is for you, Boston. You guys deserve it. We've been through a lot this year. And this is for all of you and all the family who struggle with a bombing early this year. It's for all of you.
The bases are loaded. 2 out for Shane Victorino.
Swing. There's a fly ball in left field deep. And this ball is going to be off the green. It hit the Comidian sign. Ellsbury scores. Ortiz scores. Here comes Gomes to the plate. The throw. He slides. He's saved. 3-run score. And over to third, Victorino. Pounding his chest. 3-0 Red Sox.
Back at the wall. It is gone. Home run. Stephen Drew. That's well hit into left. Back is Gomes. And struck him out. Right now. Struck him out. How about Lackey?
This is our big city.
That is line caught by Drew. These fans will let John Lackey feel their appreciation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the most valuable player in the 2013 World Series, David Ortiz.
I want to thank the best fans in baseball.
Well, it's my pleasure tonight to present the 2013 World Series Championship Trophy to the Boston Red Sox. I'd like to share it in front of everybody here, the greatest fans in this sport. It's one heck of a night. Thank you.
You guys are the greatest of all time.
Feels good, man.
Well, that's a little tribute to the world champion Boston Red Sox. Want to thank a friend of the program and one of our colleagues here at Clear Channel Radio in New Hampshire, Greg Kretschmar from Greg in the Morning Buzz. He put that together, and I just get chills when I hear stuff like that. I see those type of montages. And I know you're looking forward to your college basketball fantasy draft today.
That's
Dave.
right.
But I'm looking forward to the
draft.
whatever it is. All right. I'm really looking forward to this rolling rally today, 10 o'clock.
Boy, you just cut me off with the college thing, didn't
Well,
you?
we got about 20 seconds left in the show, so I don't really care to utilize it talking about your.
I know you haven't stopped talking the whole time.
Your passion. So
No,
go
it's
ahead.
gonna be
You got
fun.
15 seconds.
It's gonna be fun today for the rolling rally. No, I'm excited to see it too. It's great. It's terrific. 1986. I said to my best friend, "We're gonna win the World Series with Bob Stanley on the mound," and look what happened. So 3 and 9 years. I appreciate it.
All right, congratulations, Red Sox. Playoffs start next week in New Hampshire high school football.